Today we're talking about why the INFJ sees others' potential so clearly and people on the other hand have no idea what we're capable of. So it's not even that people underestimate themselves, they underestimate us. And so often we're baffled by it. We completely didn't expect it to be that extreme. We think people might not have an idea of like how great we can be and what knowledge we have and what kind of tools we have in our toolbox, but we never expect people to be so shocked once we show them who we are. So let's talk about it today. Let's figure out if this is something that we want to change, if this is something that we can change, what do we do with that information, and how we can get to a place where we don't feel like I see you clearly, I see everything that you could be, and as a result, as a thank you, I'm getting disregarded. Like we want to change that. This is not a healthy way of approaching life and approaching dynamics. And most importantly, you can't just tell yourself these things as in, okay, from now on, I'm not going to see people's potential. You're going to see people's potential. Like you can't change that. But there's still a big shift that we as INFJs can make that will make all the difference. So we don't have to lie to ourselves. We don't have to pretend like we don't see another's potential. We actually see a person more for who they are because we take that potential back into our own life. Before we get started though, I want to remind you the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp has launched, so you can join until May 11th. This is this Saturday, and we're going to have our first live call then. So if you want to join, do this before our first live call. We won't have any late admissions, and I'm really looking forward to meeting so many of you in our sacred community where we continuously support, encourage, and build on creating our INFJ Epic Life. Everything you need to know you can find in links in the description, and I hope I see many of you in our first live call. The first reason why the INFJ sees others' potential and people have no idea what we're capable is the fact that we make room for others. We allow others to be completely themselves so we can absorb them, so we can figure out who they are, what's going on within them, and therefore we can see what potential they actually have. This is one of our superpowers, and we're not doing this with a strategy in mind. This is our way of seeing the world. This is the way we work. And there's absolutely nothing you have to do in order to stop that, because this is our best gift. This is what we're capable of. We can absorb emotions, we can understand people, and therefore we can see the best in them. That is not something that we have to feel ashamed about. This is not something that we should stop. And that is actually one of the reasons why we continuously, look out for those things and see that potential. And we can't make ourselves stop doing this because it feels so right. And I'm here to tell you this is right. Like this entire process is not something that is wrong about you. What we have to understand though is that the reason why we allow to make so much room for others is because we're not making so much room for ourselves. So there's always some kind of payoff. We love to help others. We love to understand others. We love to make them experience what they're capable of. But to what extent? What is the cost we're willing to put out? And most of us really want to go so hardcore in this because this is our essence that we forget to protect ourselves in the process. And that's what we need to change. So this is really about understanding that if people are not seeing your potential and you're seeing too much of their potential, is because we're not taking up enough space for ourselves. People have to prove to us that we have to take our eyes off the ball and towards their potential in order for this to be an equal thing. People are not seeing what you're capable of because you're not showing who you are. You're not tapping into your potential, and people cannot see what they're not experiencing. The reason why you can see their potential is because you can absorb them. Not that everybody else will, come to the conclusions that you can come to. But the first step here in this entire process, why this is happening is because you love this process. You love to understand others. You love to experience people as a muse to your inspiration of life. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We just have to aim for higher levels of that entire process. We have to understand that if we're doing this at a low level of, I'm not putting out my potential, I'm not making something happen for myself, I rather focus on the other person, we're always going to be triggered by a person who needs us, by a person who exhibits qualities that we want to have in our life. And if we don't have an energy that we have created for ourselves that is already interesting enough for us, we will focus on them even if they're not good for us. But let's get to that a little bit later. Reason number 2, why the INFJ sees others' potential so clearly and they completely underestimate us, is the fact that we have this deep thirst for knowledge. Knowledge for personal growth, knowledge for the human psyche. So we're not only absorbing others' emotions and therefore get a clearer picture of people, we have also done the internal work of understanding what that means. And we're not doing this because we have a strategy that we want to manipulate people. This is our intrinsic need, our intrinsic joy for life of understanding people, of understanding concepts. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Wanting that, being that is completely pure, it's completely powerful, and it's completely lovable. We have taught ourselves that there's something wrong with that because the more we do that, people will have a problem with us. We become too powerful. We become like too know-it-all. We know where to hurt them. We become not safe. And so we have taught ourselves that every single thing that makes us us, every single thing that makes us excited about life, we're being punished for. And we've been conditioned like this our entire life. So again, what do we do with this information? What is the lesson learned here? The lesson learned here is that we have to make sure that we're safe. We have to make sure that we're at peace, and that we have to really limit what kind of energy we allow in, because we're not almighty. No matter how much of a martyr we feel we can be, no matter how strong we feel we are, as in we can absorb so much pain and we can handle it, we're still human. And at some point, we're going to crumble. At some point, it will have an effect on our mental health. It will have an effect on how we feel about ourselves. And it will alter our understanding of reality. We're susceptible to this. Like, we just have to accept it as a fact. And so the superpower of yours, of being able to read others' minds and of understanding them, seeing their potential, this is a gift, and this gift needs to be protected. And that is what needs to change within us. But at the same time, we also have to understand that if we're willing to give up everything that we are to such an extent, to absorb others' energies, to understand how people work, to understand how humanity works from our perspective, then this is something we need as an outlet. We just need it. Think about all the things you have done in situations that weren't healthy for you. This is a great indication of the gift you want to give to life, the gift you want to give to humanity, to the people you come in contact with. This is the gift of who you are. And that gift is precious. That gift is powerful. That gift is phenomenal. And you have to be the one who understands how powerful it is. And therefore not wait for others to tell you, oh, thank you so much for giving me this gift. People will see this once it's gone. They cannot understand that you're the reason they're feeling better or they're having hope or whatever it may be, because they didn't deserve it. They didn't do anything to earn it, and they haven't seen yet what it means for you to say, I'm done with this. Most people recognize this once we've done the door slam, once we've said, I cannot trust this person again. I will not stay in this situation. But trust me, that does not mean that we have to pretend we're somebody we're not. That does not mean that we have to hold back on our best gift to life. We just have to learn how to set real boundaries and to create healthy outlets. But again, we'll talk about this a little later. The third reason why the INFJ can see others' potential so clearly and they, on the other hand, completely underestimate us is because we're open to new experiences. We have the capacity to take in all that a person is. It doesn't mean that we get to see everything, but we can take in a lot. Again, we're human. We're not some mystical creature who can take in absolutely everything. And that is probably our sense of perfectionism that is holding us back from actually setting healthy boundaries, because we want to experience life so much. We want to see what that person's energy is. We want to experience their beauty. We want to experience their intellect. We want to understand how they're thinking. We're open to this experience because we know we will gain a better understanding of life. And this is one of our great characteristics, wanting to experience life. Like, how can there be anything that's wrong about that? There's not. We just have to learn that there's a price that has to be paid here as well. If we allow everything in, then everything can also destroy us. So we have to learn to find a balance. And again, I'll tell you what steps to take to really change that entire process. But let's first get a more complete picture of why we see others' potential so clearly, and they probably have no idea who we are and what we're capable of. So the fourth reason why the INFJ can see other people's potential and they probably have no idea who they're dealing with is because we project our potential onto others. So this is a huge point here. This is a super fundamental thing, truth, and experience that we have to come to terms with. Every single person sees the world the way they are. Nobody will ever completely understand you. Nobody will experience life through your eyes. And no matter how well you experience somebody else, no matter how much of an essence you get who they're about, it is always through your own filter. And if we are not accepting our own potential because we're afraid, because it's too hard, because we think we're going to be judged and abandoned for it, we're going to project it outward. So if you see yourself having all of this potential, automatically you see it in everybody else. That's just a fact. And if people don't see that potential in themselves, they won't see it in you either. Let that sink in. This is a painful truth, but it's something that we have to repeat to ourselves until we start taking the steps that will make it clear as day for us, so we don't have to convince ourselves, so we don't have to, pretend like we're not being drawn to another conclusion. It is one of the biggest secrets to this process and to that transformation. So that's actually the fifth reason why the INFJ sees others' potential and others have no idea who you are. If people see a lot of potential in themselves, they also want to see it in somebody else. They will give you the benefit of the doubt. They will allow you to express yourself. They will act how you would act. And if a person in that moment has no capacity of seeing you because of their own pain, because of their own insecurities, because of their pride and their ego, which in itself is a defense mechanism, then there's no way they will ever see your potential. And so what do we do with all of that? Is it just that we have to accept this as in like, I see everything that you could be, and you, on the other hand, are going to treat me horribly and are never going to see what I'm about until, I really get out of your life and show you that I never needed you to begin with. And then I'm going to find somebody else and I'm going to have the same interaction over and over again. Is that the solution? No, that would just be us projecting the same problem onto the next person. And this doesn't have to be a romantic interest. This can be family members, this can be best friends. Like I've experienced it with so many people in my closer surrounding more than anybody else. Because the closer a person is, the closer the bond. And the closer the bond, of course, there's more of this projection going on, right? We're doing trauma bonding. We're, having some really unhealthy, toxic dynamics going on. And so when you have those situations, we have to remember a couple of things. First off, if you have a giver and a taker, it's always the giver who needs to change their behavior. The taker can never do it. It's not possible. If a person is in pain and they're going to need to inflict that pain on the first person they see, that's what they're going to do. They don't have another choice here. It doesn't mean that we have to feel bad for them, because very often if we feel bad for them, we're not feeling bad enough for ourselves. The conclusion though is that if I'm the giver, if I'm the one who's thinking about them, about their emotions, how much they are suffering and all of that, I'm the one who needs to change my behavior. So this behavior change is one of the scariest things that we as INFJs have to do, but it's the most rewarding one. And I don't regret one thing that led me to that. I really needed to be pushed to a place of knowing I have to define my self-worth. I cannot continue this codependent, narcissistic, dynamic that is so unhealthy for everybody involved. And I have to be the one who steps up. So how does the INFJ step up? Well, the main thing is we have to tap into our potential. And what does that mean? It means we have to improve our reality. We as INFJs don't want to anchor ourselves in because we will make it uncomfortable for other people. We will trigger people so much with tapping into our potential, with deciding that I'm not going to be at the mercy of if you like me. I know my truth and I'm going to go after it. But this doesn't work if it stays in your mind. You have to bet on yourself. You have to say, I have this idea and I will make it reality. And the best way to do this is to start building and creating an outlet that allows you to share your gifts that you were willing to share even in the worst circumstances, because this is who you are. You don't need a thank you. You don't need like a pat on the shoulder. Yeah, it would have been nice, but that's not why we did it. It's who we are. We know that we can make a difference through our gifts. And so when you have this outlet, that is something real. So you wrote that book, you started that podcast, you created that music and shared it with people. Like that moment, you're making your potential real. And so when you do this, there's so much energy that you're putting into a vessel, that you're putting into an outlet that people can receive if they're respecting you and nobody else can, because you're not dimming your light anymore. You're saying, I'm going to choose me. And if that means that I, in my essence, have to be alone, then I will choose that. I'd rather be disliked for who I am than to be liked for who I'm not. And once you start this process, you'll see that you won't absorb, people who need you, because you know that just because somebody needs me, that's not reason enough for me to abandon me being my best self, because I can help so many more. I can be of such better service if my cup of energy is full. And through that, I will help on a much more higher qualitative level. And this entire process is such a big part of what we do in bootcamp as well. We work on creating those healthy boundaries. We're working on creating our purpose through being our best selves. And through that entire process, we're fulfilling so much of our potential. And once you start tapping into your potential, it doesn't have to be fulfilled, but you're on that trajectory. You automatically start seeing people differently. Because all of that potential that you wanted to put onto them, now you're putting onto you. And that does not mean that if a person comes to you and they respect your boundaries and they treat you the way you deserve to be treated, that you can't lend your inside and help them to figure out what their potential is and lead them into the right direction. But you're not sharing it with people who don't have the capacity to appreciate it or to realize your worth. You are defining your worth, and then you take action on it. Bet on yourself. It's the best decision you'll ever make. Remember, if you want a great community around you who's helping you through that process, who's done so many of the steps already, then join our amazing INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp community. Our first live call starts this Saturday, May 11th, and I hope I see many of you there. Everything you need to know you can find in the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.